Alright, so this video is relatively different from the kind of videos I usually do. Usually you'd see me talking about Gen AI or AI in general. This video is one of the experiments that I spoke about early on this year, where I wanted to share more and more that I did on a day-to-day basis. So I wanted to make this channel more generalized for people who are not only in the space of AI right now, but are also building their own startup and are in the early stage of their startup, specifically from the SaaS standpoint and software and AI standpoint. So I just wanted to kind of generalize and see if this sort of content would work as well. Obviously, you folks are the only feedback that I'd want to listen to. So you guys let me know if this is something that you want to expect and see more of in the future as well. Again, this video may not be perfect because this is like the first time I'm doing it. So I'll be more than happy to hear feedback with respect to what you guys have to say. Let's jump right in. So we just launched on AppSumo 2 days back, and over this video, I'm going to be walking through everything that we did to get listed on AppSumo and what are the results that we're seeing right now. So if I go to the sales and analytics page, you can see we made around 40 sales. 39 of these are the proper purchases, while one of these is refund. And we've made around $130 worth of revenue at this point of time. And you can see we launched on July 8th, and Indian time, this was around 10:30 p.m. when we launched. So it's not been 2 days yet, and we've gotten decent amount of visibility so far. The product that we've launched is Polysocial, which is basically a plugin that allows you to generate comments or get you comment ideas when we are on platform like LinkedIn or any other social media platform. So if I click on comment right now, you can see I have an option to comment by, clicking here. If I say congratulate, this is going to generate a comment, and then this kind of utilizes my unique voice in order to customize how the comment sounds. Again, you can also generate the comment by selecting a text like this. This is for platforms where we don't have a pop-up like this right now, and currently we only have pop-up for LinkedIn. So I'm going to remove this, and I'm going to go back to the landing page that we have on AppSumo. You can see this is the landing page, and we're listed under marketing and sales, and specifically social media, and then /Olly. All of these sales are organic, so we've done very little marketing at this point of time, but this is how the landing page currently looks like. So this is the main image that the users will see on the AppSumo marketplace like this. So when a user is looking through the content, this is what they will see. Next, you also have the categories or personas that the model is suitable for. You can see the integration is across these different platforms, which is what the core functionality of Olly is. Again, the features is AI, which allows you to generate AI based comment. So how did we get listed here, and how was the process like, and what are the kind of steps that we took to get listed on this platform? So the very first thing is that you need to create a partner account. And once you have the partner account, you can actually start adding your listing. So the very first step is to kind of fill up a form about your product. So you can go on a link like this that says sell.appsumo.com, and you can create a new application by clicking here. So you can see I have 2 products listed. One of the products is still not live, which we are kind of working to get live, but for now we've listed Olly, which is done basically by starting a new application and filling in details about the product. So how Olly typically works, that it has 2 things. First, a unique license key for the product, and it also requires you to have your OpenAI API key. And there are 2 ways to integrate on AppSumo at this point of time, where you can generate these license keys for users after they redeem the code, and these licenses then become active, and I'm going to be talking about that in a little bit. The second option is where you take the redemption code. Redemption code is basically a unique code that the user claims when they are trying to claim a deal. So how AppSumo typically works, let's say if I go to the main page here, you can see I have a lifetime deal of $49 here. So if I click here, and if I want this product for $49, I can only claim that once. So every user has this unique redemption code that when the user posts the purchase, and I'm going to show you that in a second as well. So if I go to my products and I click on Olly, this is a good example. If I click on redeem now, there will be a unique code that will be generated. It's called redemption code. Now this redemption code will effectively allow the vendor, that is the seller like me. So I was selling, allow the vendor who is me. Let's say I am the maker of Olly. I will take this redemption code, map it with the license key, and ensure that the product is not claimed by someone else. So each redemption code will be mapped to a license key when the user uses that redemption code. So if I click on Olly now, you can see I have the option to go to product, while for the product that I haven't still downloaded, you can see I have the option to, I see the option to download here, but it should show the redeem option. Now, once the user clicks on redeem option, and I'm going to go to the setup panel here. So this is again specific to Olly's setup and how we wanted the application to run, is that you need to have two things. The OAuth URL where the user will go once they click on redeem product that I just showed to you. Now let's say once the user goes to this link should be able to accept the redemption code, which will be sent as a query parameter on the link here, and then allow the user to fill in their details. Now in this scenario, it could be name and email, and then activate the license. So this is the flow that we followed for Olly, is that we created this page where we took the name and the email of the user, and at the same time, based on the redemption code, name and email, we created a unique license key for each of these users, which we then store in our database to maintain that user and license key mapping. So that is how we set up the whole redemption flow. But this again comes after you list the product. And there is one important step that I kind of missed out. So once you list the product on AppSumo, you can do the redemption settings there and then if you have the flow ready, or you can actually do it later. So we did it later, but if you have your flow prepared, let's say if you have page like /AppSumo prepared or some redemption flow prepared, then you can do it immediately. So I also have this redeem page where basically we let the user put the code that they have, and then based on the code, we allow the user to get a unique license key. So again, you can do this while you are creating your application if you have it figured out. If you haven't, then you will need to kind of, set it up later. Now, once you list your application and your application has initially being approved, this is important. Before you speak to anyone at AppSumo, your application will go through an approval flow. Once the application is approved, after that, you will have to go on a call with one of the executives from AppSumo, and I'll tell you exactly what they would ask you from the standpoint of questions. The very first question that they would ask is that, do you have enough runway to support this? A lot of people who are building products right now are indie makers, and these folks at this point of time keep changing their products because some of these products don't end up making money, or some of these products are making too less money, or some of the products are making loss. So they will ask you questions if you have the runway to support this. That's the first question. Second, they would want to know more about why you build the product, who the persona is, who the competitors are, where you are currently selling the product, what price point you are selling the product at, and so on and so forth. Third, they will want to know what programming languages or how the product is built. Is this code or is this no code, and so on and so forth. So basically, it's almost like a mini sort of investor call where they will ask you a bunch of different questions with respect to how your product functions, who runs the product, how big is your team, and how big is your runway, and so on and so forth. Once you answer all of these questions and they feel that the answer is correct, they will do the second approval. So this is the second step of the approval process. The first is the initial listing. Second is where the executive thinks your product is good enough and they would approve. And the third major thing that they would discuss is the pricing. So let's say I have Olly listed on the platform for $24.99. Typically how AppSumo operates is that they would list the product on their platform lesser than the cost that you have currently on the platform or any other marketplace. So let's say if you're selling on some other marketplace for $19, then AppSumo would want to list on their platform even less than $19. Now in this scenario, we were selling on a bunch of different marketplaces, and one of the marketplaces we had listed it for around $19. So when we were speaking to AppSumo, they wanted us to list on $9. Again, this is something that you can speak to them, but pricing wise, they are very, very sensitive. If you list price that does not either end in a 9 or is higher than some other marketplace, they will either not allow the listing, or that's going to be the end of the conversation. But now, given that AppSumo has such a large user base, it makes sense that if your product is not incurring a loss with that price point, you should probably go ahead with it. And if you have your product, say, is listed on $29, it's ideal that when you're listing your product on some other marketplace, you don't cut the price too much, because when you're listing on AppSumo, you will have to reduce it even more than you have it listed on some other platform per se. So that's one point that is very important from the pricing standpoint, is that based based on my experience, the flexibility when it comes to pricing was very, very less. And I understand because we're not necessarily, running the platform costs here, or we are not necessarily say working or using our own OpenAI API key here. It seemed viable to do it because we had exposure to so many users at this point of time. The third thing that I want to talk about is the amount of revenue share that happens versus AppSumo and you as a product creator. It's currently at 40 and 60, where 60% goes to AppSumo, so which is a huge chunk of the percentage that goes to AppSumo. So you're left with very small percentage of money coming to you. Firstly, you're offering a huge discount. So initially, if you look at Olly, it was listed for $29. Now it comes to $19 on some other marketplace, and we're listed at $9. So price wise, 50% is almost off which takes out like the major chunk of the revenue itself. And then there is also the revenue share itself, which kind of takes out the major percentage of the revenue itself. So like I said, if you're building a product that requires you to have platform level costs, then this will not be viable. Now in my scenario, Chrome extension does not necessarily cost us recurring cost when it comes to hosting fees. So it does not necessarily impact us, but then again, we have website hosting that costs us money. So there is some recurring cost that we are incurring based on for the product itself, plus the fact that we are, improving and adding new features. So that consumes time of my team and myself. So that also kind of costs us the time itself. So overall, listing on AppSumo does not necessarily mean your product will do well unless you figure out like a good price point for your product. So again, like I said, once you have two approvals, pricing wise and the initial listing approval, the third step and the major step is where someone from AppSumo will actually review the entire product and the flow that you've created with the product. And if everything sounds fine, they will create a landing page for your product, which you will have 48 hours to review and approve. Once you approve the landing page and everything sounds good, the flow sounds good, then you can go ahead and finalize a launch date. And for us, the launch date was 8 July. It typically happens around 2 p.m. CET or 12:30 CET. I'm not sure at this point of time, but they send all of this to you on email. Again, once you're listed, you have a couple of things to do as well. So let's go to Olly right now. One of the most, recurring things I've been doing on the platform is answering the questions that are asked on the AppSumo questions page. So if I look at the product right now and I look at Olly, let me scroll down a bit, and you would find there are a bunch of different questions that people have asked, and these are very good questions. This is one of the other benefits of launching on AppSumo, is that it gives you the right set of questions that you need to answer, especially if you're serious about the product that you're building. The people here are tech savvy, so they know exactly what they're asking, and if you build the product, or if you have a tech team, or if it's a tech product, then you will be able to answer these questions. And obviously some of these suggestions are very, very good, where people will tell you different integration options and what they want to see in the product. Some of the folks have also reached out to me on email with respect to the suggestions, and some of them have also kind of scheduled a call so that we can, go and talk about the features that we can add in the product. So overall, from the standpoint of listing on AppSumo, obviously, it does give you visibility to a large set of audience. The second thing is that it also gives you backlink for your product, meaning you will be listed on the AppSumo marketplace and your website will be credited for being listed on the platform. Backlink effectively improves your ranking on Google. So if I scroll on top here, you can see I can actually click on this and go to my website, which kind of increases the credit on my website. Third, it improves trust. So you can see featured on AppSumo, a lot of users trust the deals on AppSumo. And if you're listed on AppSumo, which basically means that you've gone through like a approval process of sorts and your product is viable and something that is trustworthy in a way, right? And then third is the most important bit, the feedback that you get from the users who are actually using the platform now. So like I said, we've made around 40 sales at this point of time, but more important than the sales is the feedback that we've received from the users and the kind of changes that we want to do in the product moving on. So regardless of what product you're working on at this point of time, this is a great place to launch your product. Obviously, you still want to optimize the content better. You can see the images can be better. If I add a black background and then show this, it is more impactful than the current background right now. And all of this is also something that you can change once it's listed, but it's ideal that you do all of these reviews early on. Now we had a very short window to review all of this, and the product itself didn't seem so bad, so we went with it. But some of the things that you can definitely optimize, it will help you get more people on the landing page. So again, that has been our experience from figuring out what AppSumo is, to actually listing on AppSumo, to actually making around 40 to 50 sales on the first 2 days of listing. Now this is something that I don't post usually, and if you guys are looking for content like this, I'd be more than happy to do so. I've been posting on AI and Gen AI, but then it seems like a lot of people are already talking about this and it kind of becomes repetitive. So I'm trying to see if I can post more about what I do on a day-to-day basis, to see if that interests you folks as well. And that is going to be it for the video, guys. Thank you so much and have a good rest of the day. I'll see you guys in the next one.